Thus I have heard. At one time, the Blessed One was dwelling in the royal domain of Ultra Peak Mountain, with a great gathering of monks and a great assembly of bodhisattvas. At that time, the Blessed One was absorbed in the samadhi of the many aspects of phenomena called profound appearance. At the same time, noble Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva Mahasattva, looking at the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom, saw the five skandhas in their natural emptiness. Then, through the power of the Buddha, Venerable Shariputra said to the noble Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva Mahasattva, "How should a son of the lineage train who wishes to follow the practice of the profound perfections of wisdom?" Thus he spoke, and the noble Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva Mahasattva answered the Venerable Sharadvatiputra with these words. Shariputra, those men and women of the lineage who wish to follow the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom should look at it like this. The five skandhas should be seen purely in their natural emptiness. Form is empty. Emptiness is form. Emptiness is not other than form. Form also is not other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, recognition, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Shariputra, like this, all phenomena are emptiness, and having no characteristics, they are unborn and unceasing. They are not impure or pure. They neither decrease nor increase. Therefore, Shariputra, an emptiness is in their form, no feeling, no recognition, no compositional factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no appearance, no sound, no smell, no taste, no sensation, no phenomena. There is no quality of sight and so on, until no quality of mind and no quality of mental consciousness. There is no ignorance and no exhaustion of ignorance, and so on, up to no old age and death, and no exhaustion of old age and death. In the same way, there is no suffering, no origin, no ending, and no path, no wisdom, no attainment, and no non-attainment. Therefore, Shariputra, since there is no attainment, bodhisattvas rely on and abide by means of the profound perfection of wisdom. And since their minds have no obscurations, they have no fear. Transcending falsity, they attain nirvana. All the Buddhas who dwell on the three times have relied upon the perfection of wisdom and have become true and complete Buddhas of unsurpassable, perfect, and complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of the profound perfection of wisdom, the mantra of insight, the unsurpassed mantra, the unequaled mantra. The mantra which calms all suffering should be known as truth, for it is not deceptive. The mantra of the perfection of wisdom is proclaimed. Teata Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhi Soha. Shariputra, this is how a Bodhisattva Mahasattva should train in the profound perfection of wisdom. Then the Blessed One arose from that samadhi and said to the Bodhisattva Mahasattva noble Avalokiteshvara that he had spoken well. Well done, O son of the lineage, it is so. O son of the lineage, since it is just so, the profound perfection of wisdom should be practiced just as you have taught, and the Tathagatas will also rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, the Venerable Sharadbhatiputra and noble Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva Mahasattva, and the entire gathering, as well as worldly beings, gods, humans, asuras, and Gandharvas, rejoiced and praised the words of the Blessed One.
Rozo gyala buje daze yana chuje yade song. Roda je ro je mo je no de je ja zhu zhe jin. Mare me ze dong ye nyu gu je ye je ze re zhe no. De ne da je sa je da ze nyu de le zo je. 自度我就着就当今年今日到日明让别养了的阿拉巴那的阿拉巴达阿拉巴达那的 这点知知知了日子就到了的莫明白日子，感动的就就落落巴耶，落着不别弄，热多呀落呀落呀热呀热呀没呀多。 找也这也罗也牛也牛也丢也就也火也丢，草也就也是也多，苗也丢也苗也火也。 罗耶格耶诺耶多耶谢罗谢耶摩哟耶就娑罗耶摩多耶摩耶就耶诺哟耶就耶格耶摩耶诺。 就呀，就呀，就呀，就呀的，就呀，多呀，左呀边，六呀，左呀，左呀，摩罗，左呀，就呀，就呀，就呀，左摩。 哦呀，多也多不着着，面对那个那样，那样也妙呀，我的作业那么直播，那个修边的着呢，高真前边过的结束的，过送多久不住走多数。 并作给了些月之别故，大愿卓越人我不也松。 马列西教接近西别土，教接做我的老所我的，多接前波的西多接中，就在的罗波多那罗波，边就中边波多我的想，要来西罗接罗所我的。上波多灭一念那着的，觉的地狱的当着别别，这种过错了念所念梦，了解区别解了所我的，要有玉面兄弟的着当，那我这波这边可有钱。三界观众宝宝要在说，三摩大愿见了说我的，协助大别中阿的上，高当点别明波中的见。念就能学过去送了送，高当了嘛能了说我的。刚见新的世界中国，我到这边我学节操节，到这边到我给着节，要是就把节了说我的，就说个的那么多节长，刚了刚的些年最多年。就当天梦梦中自在边，这些老我那那说我的，让家所着跟了大爷面，给上他把这边叫我就，三月这边他给再把爷，甚至些年那那说我的。叫我更多养到那么多，这面却就别了那些天，撒到那就也得少做点，我就交给我，就多说三节就。多节就能了，想就不多多点就做。大概就这边做那些，绕了别些上街主播，小上街就做街就能了，想就不多多点就做。大概就这边做那些，绕了别些上街主播，小上街。越多做的就能了，想就不当然叫做大概结束的，大概确切这边错呢，到了平时上若不就哎哎呀，我这东西，哎，好的，要的他，对。当ちょっとルーチ、あとま、だけの13で、けの13、そうだす、ミュージャー、せちら、だっちゃばめで、ね、だがつちゃちんろはな、言っちゃだがざ、ラマでさ、はだまだはまえだ、とざちびせで、ラビア、ね、中止びかねれ、中止ねちびか、かれちえなや、じがずろわめいりちばまえんば、ね、めばなかたじゃちわち、ね、リスだべ、さんじんよそそばで、ね、ちょらのよばい、ね、中止ねで、나의 투마라고 지기 도나이니 가까이 되는 투마나고 도
It is as a part of motivations. Whenever the teachers give the Dharma teachings, and prior to giving their teachings, may I propound these teachings of the Dharma that can be understood by all the levels of beings, such as Deva, Naga, Asura, Gandharva, so on and so forth. And this indicates that we, as a part of receiving the teachings, participating in receiving these Dharma teachings must have such motivations, not only that requires such motivations from the teacher, but also the individual who's receiving the teachings must also have the similar wish that not only that oneself is receiving, but all of those beings, such as Deva, Naga, Gandharva, Asura, and so forth, all of them are present in us and receiving these teachings.
다 텔레젠바 예데네 베나 맞서 젠다바 유쇼다 줌에서나 나시 코노긴지 된지 칸지 차데 지기토나 난저 제제로 근데께서 시에서나 나시 세데 줌에리 코 카이네 레그리 코 토메로 인자데 코 용모쇼가 케면도 소소 가사데나 도바야사텔라다 수이나 요연데지로.
So although it is part of our motivations by visualizing all other beings are in participating in these teachings and who are part of this congregations who are receiving the teachings. Yet at the same time, they are very subtle and it is very obscure phenomena, something that we cannot be, that's something that we, it's not something that is visible to our sense consciousness. But then, and at the same time, there's if you really think very carefully, there is a possibility that there are many beings who are formless in a very, remaining in a very obscure manner.
맞지 장으로 소다 맞지 되게 샤고 분별을 단다 가서 타와이나 전에 내가 시주비 걸 추고 거셔야 될 때들이 그 자체만 돈을 뭐 쉬어야겠네 사차 코너면도 근데 라바도 가지고 단다 여러 맞은 데는 퍼버시에 되게 계절에 뜻이 되다 하이 된제로 인자 뜻을 산재 페비 걸 연구를 맞춰 연구 맞으세요 말에 단다 거들라 산재기 추치니 제디 거 강의 받더라 아니 가시 중에 하나지 대대대로 고고요 그런 얘기 가사로 되래 가시 좀 왔어.
But this is, all those beings who are fortunate and whose mindset is, matured to receive the teachings of the Dharma, whose mind is matured to receive the Dharma, will always present whenever the Dharma teachings is given. Just think about, just take an example of the Buddha's, second teachings of the Dharma, the Prajnaparamita Sutra at the Rajgir, where according to the text it says there are hundreds and thousands of monks and arhats and noble beings who are present in that particular area. But if you physically visit that particular place, this space is not big at all. It's a really tiny little hill. There's no space for the thousands and hundreds and thousands of monks can be presented in that particular place. That indicates that not only that when the Buddha is giving the teachings, not only that human beings were actually in that present in that particular place, but also there are many other beings, the formless beings, the devas, and nagas, and so on and so forth. So, and then also, if you look at the Heart Sutra itself, it says there's a mentioned very often. It mentioned that the presence of Avalokiteshvara. Avalokiteshvara is a divine form. It cannot be. We as ordinary beings cannot be seen those the individual who is in a divine form.
다들 얘기했잖아. 가르쳐 봐야잖아. 아니 소속이 대사로도 코유르도 소속이 상식 찍고 많이 봐. 아니 데스 코유이나를 받자침고. 근데 선바이나 받자침고. 근데 처음부터 이제 제서나 델발이 계좌사로 줘야지. 먼저 계좌 먼저 돼 받자지 제서로 말도 다다가서 내놓는 칼라존나 사주세. 되게 라바지 상도에 지게 말아. 센티노는 받자기 상술로 아니 좋아 당시 되네. Zan Rode, and then also Dendry Taming on the Shesona, Dendema, the Ledger Taming on the Sheson, Tashin Tower, the Ledger and Aja in the Jitendero.
So therefore, when receiving the teachings, and one should not have this limited way of thinking that being in one's own place in a tiny room, but rather think about a very vast space where you are surrounded by entire sentient beings. And with such motivations will enables one to accumulate a tremendous amount of merits and leaving a positive imprint or the impact or propensity within one's continuum. So it is through this way we can accumulate merits by implanting a positive imprints within one's continuum.
That Rich Yang to me, but to the danger not has independent is a Nankai Yashi Jacho, independent and several. Young de don't even Alan Yambasity. Maybe just at the Yashi Jacho, but the Kadu and Chokan and Sedu.
So it is therefore, we when one is visualizing, we also visualize, which is also important to visualize in the space. In the space, the object of refuge is present, and the space must be as vast as possible. One should, just like we find in the Guru Puja where it says, indivisible space, broad and expensive space, in that indivisibility, within the indivisibility of emptiness and bliss.
That really Yashi Jachi dinner, and it never to be on body. And she zone Shiba, and she did in Nabachi, and it tell her, and it Jachi should do some dodges and the church of my nine. So children go to Lamas and the Lama not according to Jimmy Bache, and they round around again. She can't round the door and she Pampaji the Pijit, the Pinja, the Penumochi Sana Cheta, and Deliver Jachi Batai with Saint Pa. Thai Nakatan be suggested, Randa Java Yemi from Pangotu, Yana Numba Den Pangotu, Yana Meri Den Pangotu, the Mato, Tadet in Yasakira, the Richie and go to any Koma, the Jachi Rechidua. The Druichi is Yoba Kashichila teaching a lot of me the Chief Gopachibachi, any song at again, Sosu in the button, Maji song, the Matachi, Combo like Cup and Chumara, the Romo and Katucharabi already. The dress of the Chigibachi, the Wakatu Conduits on the Chigi, Miba Jendavayana. A lot of somebody swatted, no, I hate you. The little hero Jana, any genie, a symbol of my church, any church, you mentor with Jidia, Tiara.
So, with such motivations, let's take a couple of minutes to visualize Buddha in front of one, in that space, before oneself, with just looking upon all of us in a very, delightfully. So, looking all of us surrounded by all other beings, such as
This is my fault.
Did you?
I'm sorry. Okay, I haven't finished it. So then Buddha is then surrounded by lineage gurus of profound views and extensive deeds, and then being yourself in their presence, just that your aspiration to receive this teaching is so intense, just like someone who is so thirsty and longing to have the water. Similarly, the one should have such an intense motivations of receiving the teachings, and with this Then let's take a couple.
Let's
Rinpoche has to, if somebody's on the doors, at his door, so he has to go and open the door. That's Rinpoche, that's.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Then I thought the company several companies in the chair. Come on, go, let's one.
That's all. That's
Call the companies to me, but
let's take a couple of minutes to meditate on it.
I understand.
With these motivations, the teachings we are receiving today is the great deities on the stages of the path to enlightenment.
사제 정원도 현재 저희 사제제 송사르자 추군 쯤부터 제법이 저와 네 당할 교과집이 주제 저와 저와 님도 되면 저런 시제다 저 넘어가면 넘어졌다 저이름 봐스 대제대 뒤에 송사르지.
As usual, let's begin with our teachings by going through the four major outlines. The first, the greatness of the authors given in order to show the teachings as a noble source, and showing the greatness of the teachings in order to engender respect for the teachings, and how to listen to the teachings in which both teachings and its authors are great, and the sequence in which the disciples are to be taught the actual instructions.
다시 봤더니 니치 런치 자신이 되면서 되는 로치 다자이를 많이 다 도문지 다 되는 로치 다자이를 말니 되는 이번에 비스고 다 이번 제단에 비스니 도문지사 다 이번 제단에 비스라니 런치 나자는 이번에 증거지 도문지사 다 이번에 증거를 송 주부 충분도 통모에 나자를 만나서는 주부 되는 주부 챔피언 나자를 만나서는 제지 다 도문지사 다집에 챔피언 나자를 만나서는 지라서 송 대체는 주부고 선지 코나데 뭐 선대 제다 집에서 선지는 쇼발로 제지 도문지사 다 생진의 셔벌로지라 송 생진의 로바로그 베젠스 로바르로로 사제문주 로바로베 렘바니시바지 다 동번인지사 다 로바로베 렘바니시바니 이제 셔바줄로서다 제바도 도제테바로 세지 동벌로 송 상생지 로바한테 장장에 제세 넘버송 손에 제단에 비추 이제 동번인지다 다 손에 제단에 비추니 강한 비제 텔로바는데 제달로 베rem바지 다 동번인지사 다 텔로 제달로 베rem바라니 슈바줄로로다 제바도 파세 타만이라 세지 다 동번지사 다 파세 타만이라 신내로서 하통로 세지 다 동번지사 다 하통로지니 하통 초된바 하통 여러도 예와 하통 감be 하통도 세지 다 동번라니 소인사에 정당에 비된 게 송라 뭐소와 아니 루루주고 바체단지 비치 제타숑 비치 동반이 되나 되었습니다. 동반이 이제 다와 되나 되었어. 나도 동반이 이제 다와 되나 되었으니까 되더라. 인전에 당가 쪽에 사지 상추지 생존에 쇼바쩌다 쳐바다 파신 타만년로 하지도네. 라동 하지 가도 되는데요. 근데 라동 대랑 동반이 라지 가도.
So we're on this on the chapter of special insight, how to cultivate its special insights, and which is now we're currently under this under the chapter of the stages of entry into reality.
당가서 아니 카세 될래요. 카생한테 가서 엄만 주바데 강사게 다음에 한번 나온자 니 라에 제제번니 제바체바 예노 소야티.
No, 다리.
디지 아스티질로 야본도 또 그저가 최제 소소를 빠데메 바 장제메 바 리바 덤마 손장 내조벤 주비 체네 도디나 다다다게와라 장제메 바 텔람베 토네 감바네 사시로에 저제비 되인바 로베 산제 장지 손발라 때네 로벤 다와 잡변 제바 예데 오만 주발네 녀랑게 강사게 다음에 템바나 저로에 저제바니 제바체바 예노사이.
That's all. 최진 소소 빠도면 걸라라신. 나중에 거기고 돈을 쓰겠어. Let's So let's read again the one paragraph that we already covered in our previous teachings, which is scriptures set forth many arguments refuting the intrinsic existence of the limitless number of individual things. However, when yogis initially engage in the practice, they meditate in an abridged way. So determining that both the self and that which belongs to the self, like intrinsic nature. The Master Buddha Palita says that this is the meaning of the 18th chapter of Nagarjuna's fundamental deities. The chapter, the Master Chandrakriti, based in his commentary on this statement by Buddha Palita. Also, the teachings of the selfless of the person in Chandrakriti's commentary on the middle way are just extended explanations of the 18th chapter of Nagarjuna's fundamental deities.
It
is in about 121. Gathering searching.
121. Okay. 다크라게 있는 것이다. 이제 당연히 되래. 단지 되라. 가상하니 이게 사제 넣어라. 공부루주진 제파 제타 형식 생에 되긴 또 디자인한 같은 데래도. 되게 이게 사제 넣어라세데 정화등에 비서로 뭐서 왔다. 근데 공부루주진 제파 제타 형식 생에 돼. 아니 내가 투사 되라. 바디 사제 장나 바디 나와 잡으니 이 형식에 타투 보면 이제
So this the identification of the definitive and interpretable teachings are, utterly elaborated and expounded and elucidated by the teachings of Chandrakriti and the Nagarjuna's teachings commented by the Chandrakriti and Buddhapalita.
아니 오마게 따와도 때나 그 가셔가 메자건 뭐 연구를 nenjo payin nyanga chega de ngon nyane chesa da karsana ni da gyo an zimba kasi tere tere jeje be gumba tere sondwa
so here the Nagarjuna's fundamental deities
tamason chang sondwa tamason chang do dina sede
of the middle ways. It says, where it's clearly mentioned that scriptures set forth the many arguments refuting the intrinsic of the limitless number of individual things. However, when the yogis initially referring to the practitioners, it says yogis, but the yogis here referring to the practitioners. However, the yogi initially engaged in the practice, they meditate in an abridged way, determining the both self and which belongs with that which belongs to the self. That's the intrinsic natures. So what it says here is now, although there are many, object of negation or object of refutations that need to be negated or refuted. However, when it comes to the actual practice, and practice needs to be condensed way of identifying object of negation and negating that object, which is the self and that which belongs to the self.
되긴 도되는 가르쳐나 지금 저 제바 강치나 카시텐스 손바 많이바 내가 치셔대 아니 카랑로네 당지 말이 바 이네버든 장달라 아니 손바레세데 냐네.
So now in brief, in this particular chapter, this particular paragraph, it really talks about, implicitly talks about when we are talking about engaging in refuting the object of negation, it's not something that you are looking out somewhere elsewhere, outside other than oneself, and looking somewhere and trying to refute that particular, identifying that as object of refutation and refuting it, but rather one should turn inward and look at oneself, the self that what we normally grasp onto it. There's a self that we normally believe and thinking that such self that exists intrinsically, and also wish that that which belongs to the self also exists in intrinsic identity. So this must be refuted.
됐지. 대선 쳐서 장으로 저기 손셔되냐고 신경을 갖대이나 오만 줘봐는 이게 치트 장나 갖대이네 대선도도 왔다 이거라. 근데 내가 가르쳐나 맞아 오만 줘봐서는 오만 줘봐 이 오만 가는 줘서기 오만데 싸워시라 자고라다. 싸워시라긴 줘봐. 아마 고물루도 이거 타투사들이.
Whenever His Holiness, if you're listening to the teachings of His Holiness, he always, aside from the Madhyamaka Avatara, which is the commentary on the middle way of the fundamental teachings, the the middle way, fundamental teachings of the middle way is written by Nagarjuna, which is commented by the Chandrakriti. The commentary is known as Madhyamaka Avatara.
됐지. 내가 저 하고도 라이저지 공부하는 제일 버티는 페이퍼에 손도 하대. 매년 러버 상만이 봐 소소기 정도만 로디 부드만 양도 집에서는 차로.
So therefore you see that here also the teachings on the selflessness of the person in Chandrakriti's commentary on the middle way are just extended explanation of the 18th chapter of the Nagarjuna's fundamental teachings.
됐지. 당연히 로인다. 게된데 태바침비 대 코난이는 주비 취된 바 많이 나. 대나 강 Dena dadan dagewen zimba seba zane toji de konani de mirishin. Dadan dagewa la rajeme ba tela beba zam na chuje dame tela peba mebe. De konani la jubena de mirisonya na jeme de sondo.
So let's read the text. It is beginning from second paragraph, which says, the calm, are you not teaching how to enter the reality of the Mahayana? In that case, the reality that one seeks to attain cannot be mere extinction of the conception of both self and that which belongs to it. Also, since a simple determination that both self and that which belongs to it lacks intrinsic nature, does not entail a determination that objects and distinct from persons and lack self, it is wrong to posit it as the path of engaging into reality.
Jeme de logida. Jeme de sko jidang de yong de chabu de ma lo ne ni de de chila ma de kus ko sama. Jeme de da kyo an zimba tangche de seba na ni le nyomo la me che yu chi pa ba ne teme la wa ye me jang. Sheda na ge ngo chu ji chu bi chima tangche de mami pa pa ba ne chu ju ko yin bi sheda da la rangje me ba to ba ne de yang la de che bi pong ba rangje 여번 좀 도바 주의 세대 신다치나 콜로라 소바 디 양라나자 시바 제노 세세 대양 세세레서
Reply here says, there's no problem here. Well, there are two types of total extinction of the conception of both self and that which belongs to it. Even Hinianas may have the first type, but the utter elimination of the afflictions, so that those afflictions will never reoccur. Sorry. However, the second is a Buddha's embodiment of the truth. It is the elimination through utter non-apprehension of all signs, which are elaboration of external and internal phenomena. Also, when you know that the self does not exist intrinsically, you also overcome the comprehension that the aggregates which are its component exist intrinsically. Just as when the chariot is burned, the wheels and such, that its parts are also burned. Chantikritas clearly says.
베나 담에니 계셔시에서나 단다 엄마 탄제 계셔 마시나 주당 엄마 뜻이 시에서나 아니 간사다 다다 다교 제비텔라 단제세나마도 텔라 추제 단제세나 타네 지금 말이에스 아니 된주기 단제 pom바데다 녀랑의 열에 아니 대pom베 pom바텔라 추크 타토발라고 말어 아스다 단다데 거는 티첸시비 거로 아스 쇠바티.
So now here at this point, where the teachings that discussions that we are going, discussions that we are having is based on the teachings of the Mahayana. It's not based on the Hinayanas and so forth. So therefore, if you look at the reply that one is giving to the other person, is that now in the lower schools of thoughts, they do not accept the grasping at self and grasping at phenomena. They accept only grasping at self. There's no such grasping. There's no term for grasping at phenomena, and they do not assert the grasping at phenomena. So just by eliminating grasping at self alone and remaining the grasping at phenomena will not enable one to achieve the embodiment of the Buddha's embodiment of the truth. So in order to achieve the Buddha's embodiment of the truth, must eliminate it. It requires an utter elimination of grasping at self and that which belongs to it.
나 속에 내가 쉐가 가르쳐서나 엄마 랑지바 면세기 추제 단제의 가사 단제니 가가시 아니 가사 단제세의 녀모시 추제 단제세의 시리시 그래 엄마 탄저 면셔.
So below Madhyamaka Svatantika and below schools of thoughts, they asserts the way they accept this grasping at self and grasping at phenomena is that the grasping at self is said to be the obscuration to liberation, and grasping at phenomena is said to be the obscuration to omniscience. This is to be clear, this is asserted by the Madhyamaka Svatantika and below.
되지. 나 엄마 탄저로라 엄마 탄저에서 단다 거들라 아니 단전이 간사다 풍분히 체기 있잖아 시에나마도 단전이라 차라당 또 갈라니 말이 강가 녀모레서 나라다.
However, when it comes to Madhyamaka Prasangika, whether it is grasping at self or grasping at phenomena or grasping at that which belongs to the self, are all considered as the obscuration, it is considered as the delusions, and there is no subtlety of this, selflessness and selflessness of person and selflessness of phenomena. There's no subtleties. Once you come to realization of selflessness of the person, one can also be realized the selflessness of person, selflessness of phenomena.
야, 그때 trouble 다되는만 trouble 그래서 쉬고 치투면 다 간제 던져리지 라고를 봐 다시 가슴만 맞서 세워나기 늦어져도 단전이 남의 또베기 소로도 토바장제 단전 쉬고 차그서는 배셔는 양자 손도요로 어찌 로이면 내버려 집어 녀다 단 내려서는 롱을 도차스키 티마도 나야 같이 로이면 나가 쉬신다고 지녀다 근데 편해치고 쉬어서요.
So this part, particularly this chapter, the special insight chapter, it's a very hard, and sometimes the teachings that you may find some statements, the enigmatic statement that we may find, which is very hard. Actually, it is quite subtle and very hard. But nevertheless, it is said that just by listening to such teachings, the profound teachings of the emptiness will actually, shiver the grasping itself. And it accumulates a tremendous amount of merits, even though that one may not be able to, have, complete understanding of what is explained in this particular text, but one will have the inconceivable merits can be accumulated by listening to the teachings very carefully and open-mindedly.
됐지. 다들 담아달라 추주 데 랑루라 셰유데 아니 방치텔라 다음에 또 뭐도기 다음에 또 뭐도 추주 다음에다 가사 다음에 또 뭐도 개차 말해. 아니 녀모 라피 온데잖아 라바데 녀랑기 방거리. 아니 세마다 제 바차다 제 보고 뭐는 추크세 그래. 대방에다라 아니 대바치 뭐래세. 예 된다 돼.
So here now, in brief, we summarize the meaning of essential meaning of this particular chapter that we have gone through right now. It's now the gross level of delusions or the defilements can be utterly eliminated by even the Heineinist and the Heinlein practitioners. But then that it's elimination. But however, it says, however, in order to achieve the Buddha's embodiment of the truth, requires a thorough, utter non-apprehension of all signs, which are elaboration of external and internal phenomena. It is, it is this such can be only eliminated by following in the view of the middle way.
단다 탄저 가서 거스버 탄저 그런 라로라 시는데 아니 간사게 담에다 취지 담에로 또 갈아 쳐봐야 말이 아니 간사 라지메 봐 또서는 뒤에 양라 집에 풍부 라지메 봐 마도 번더서라고 말이 변나 콜로 매기 치소야나 콜이 양라 이제 매기 치면도서는 자사라고 말어와서네 아니 빼자는 소다 지도는 지도 그랬어 소월.
So according to the Madhyamaka Prasangika, where it says, once you come to realization of the selflessness of person, you will also come to realization of selflessness of phenomena, or which that belong to the self, such as one's aggregate and so forth. Just then, we also find there's also an example. They have set an example by saying that if the chariot is burned, then its will and the parts, the component of the chariots are also burned. So therefore, we don't have a doubt of, once you come to the realization of the selflessness of the person, then selflessness of phenomena, the realization of selflessness of phenomena can be also accomplished.
마리비 시진 로단 덴바나 다도 문바신 비 시주버 풍봉하고 대다 관계 녀원 렘바니도 나왔는데 지 풍비 천이 여바 시강 왜데 풍비 천아래 풍비 천이 매바 시제 타반되바나지 넘바셔바 이지 넘바셔바 이노 넘바 통제도 쇼바나 타반되바나지 미바 데이셔 대나 다니 여바 마이나 다게 여바 갈란제 다 마미 비실 네 다드 다비시 다게온 네 다게온 신드치 미리바 민지여마리 미바 민지비 셔로 제타 신다 제나디 양라진 치바 마미바 대전도 년조베 다게 강아레 강기체 다메바 또바 데니제 체 풍비 응어보 다게와야 다메바 또바 저기 셔로 제 달러 rangi 메바 또비 체 다게와 풍보 rangi 풍보 다게 때 rangi 메바 또바 손소 주바 rangi 레장 손도.
Out here it says, the self is imputed dependently. It is about those who have errors of ignorance, clinging to variously. It is regarded as a propagator of the five aggregates. And those who seek liberation analyze whether the self has a character of that aggregates. When those seek of liberations have analyzed it in every way, they do not observe itself. And thus, Nagarjuna's fundamental deity says, if the self does not exist, how could that which belongs to the self exist? It says, because they do not observe the self. They also do not at all observe the aggregates which belongs to the self. The basis on which the self is designated, when a chariot is burned, its part also burned, and thus are not observed. Similarly, when yogis know that the self does not exist, they will know that which belongs to the self, that the things that are aggregates are also devoid of self. And that's all.
변은 뉴스제다 변은 어떻게 변 영내 정해지기 인소나 이제 지기 된도라 변은 다 두드 민두스네 지기 된데 제소나 아니 다 민두스네 이제티기 녀소나 아니 다 민두다 크이 잘라두세 던저다 용 미시베소니죠 변은 같이 먼저지는 컨트롤에 잘라하시세요 많이 봐 아니 변은 크이 코론 민두 크이 민두 코민두 크이 언저도 코민두 크이 한두세 제라야 말어.
So let's take an example that if one is looking for someone And if you find that person is not present in the place that you're actually looking, then there's no doubt that by knowing that person is not present in this particular, that person does not exist in that particular area, that we have no doubt about, although that, we will have no doubt about that, because, we'll have no doubt of having that, the person is not exist, but then the person ears and, or maybe some of his limbs are exist. So this kind of doubt will not have, right? When you know the person is not there, then that which belongs to him, in such as his, limbs and, aggregates and so forth, are also come to know that the essence of those aggregates.
제가 강사세는 풍부하고 강론의 답이 집에서 내려고 그러와. 다 강사 민도 풍부하고 강론도를 말 풍부하고 강론도 강사도 생기게 시지 때서 된데 제선은 니에토에 자원이네요 말와.
So because the person is designated upon the basis of aggregates, right? Basis of aggregates. And if the person is not there, then how the aggregates can be? Because these are dependently existence. The person and the aggregates are dependently existence. They're in the interdependence. Once the person is not there, and then its basis upon which the person actually exists, which is the aggregates, will not be existed at all.
되지. 대나기로 와서 힌타스는 콜로스는 찔러서나 차용수 총이 찔러 힌타스 그러면서 연락을 힌타스라고 말와. 차용수 총하지면은 힌타 차자리 힌타 차조도 힌타도 지세게 남이시. 대체나 신하스는 힌타 옆에 타와되는 땅으로 와. 힌타 지는 마저나 연락집이 힌도 신하스는 여러.
So similarly, just think about when we talk about the chariots. When the term chariots is imputed upon the complete, existence of the components of the chariots, such as will, other parts of the components and so on and so forth. Because just one part of chariots, such as will and so forth, cannot be identified as a chariots.
단도된 가르치고를 간사랑심에 버도는 풍부랑심에 또 그래세 되게 쳐봤대 송과 그 좋다 엄마들서 간사랑심에 버도 와나 아니 랑심에 버세고 간사기 담에도 와나 아니 주지 담에 또가 말했을라디 엄마 탄주를 아니 가자때 랑심에 버자 대지 랑심에 버도는 지 랑심에 버 마도번 로사라고 말했어 냥가데.
So now here there is what we must understand here is now we're trying to refute the lower philosophical thoughts of how they accept, how they identify the object of repetitions, because they identify the object of repetitions in a different way. There are two different objects of repetitions, such as grasping, self object of repetition of grasping of self and object of grasping of phenomena. However, when it comes to the Madhyamaka Prasangika, the intrinsic reality, intrinsicness, the intrinsic existence is the object of repetition for the both self, person, self, or grasping of self of person and grasping of self of phenomena. So it doesn't require two different objects of repetitions when it comes to the Madhyamaka Prasangika.
야, 다 주바랑들에 지도아 zula sobe range ngola mi ba sijelo de jubi shir ganza ge da me ba to ba ya mejete da bi je phombo la mi bi shero jige de jisu phombo je ba desi de la nanze ye je phombo ranji me ba ma to na ganza ge da me to ba ya son bi shero son de.
Thus, Chandrakriti says that when you know that the self lacks intrinsic nature, you also know the self's aggregates lacks self that is to say that lack intrinsic nature, in other words. And also Chandrakrita's explanation of the middle way by middle way commentary, Madhyamaka Avatara Parsha says, Sharvaka in particular Buddha, following Hinayana tenets, are inaccurate because they apprehend an essence in things such as form. Therefore, they do not know even the selfness of a person. This is because they hold conception of the aggregates, the basis that is designated as a self. Now, Arjuna's precious scholar, Rednavali says, as long as you conceive of the aggregates, you will conceive of them as I. Thus, he says that if you do not know that aggregates like intrinsic nature, you do not know the selfness of a person.
되지. 다시 가마들 간사게 남에 또나 이제 풍부 남에 또 그래야지 개체시. 다 풍부를 하신 두 번째면 제바에 진짜라 간사게 남에 또 시그 말에 간사게 당제 요리. 주시 풍부들 대세 풍부를 하신 두 번째면 제바에 진짜라 가자 하시면 또 말에 개체들.
So now says, as long as you have grasping at aggregates, or as long as you have a view of seeing the aggregates as an intrinsic identity, intrinsic reality, intrinsic existence, then you will also have the grasping at self as intrinsic existence.
되지. 됐어 가서 쇼쇼하고 이제 배나 가서 소주 풍부선에 소속에 지잘라 가야 로아지라 슈 첨보여나 슈 첨보대 종에다 서서는 난진이 난진여나 아니 내가 이래서기 당든진 벌 때는 얘네 레사고서 다니들 레래 지서 보면 됐을 난진여나 레사 난진여나 양 레치지세 간지 가서게 레사지게 단다 치는데 다랑 자 풍부라신 두 번째면 제바야나 나이 잘라래서 된즈에 비다리 나이 당즈에서나 나도 코생이 여시에 아니 코천지 재산자한테 아니 난지랑이 제거해서.
Where it says, as long as we have, this is how we accumulate karma, as long as it is because of too much holding on to the aggregates, one's own aggregates, conceiving the aggregates as something that exists intrinsically, and which then, intensify our grasping at self and both grasping at self and grasping at phenomena, which then leads to accumulation of karma.
되지. 게테가 테스만 놓인다. 게테 간사라 장심에 버토비 로 데니지 다 뇌제 당월 로 데니지 풍부 장심에 버토바 이나 아니 다메니 소스레 다메니 또비 로니 지든지 죄여도 최대 여도하지 최단 간사스 니 소소와 인베 데니 장심에 버토비 로니 장 소소와 인데 변나 bom바다 가와 메타바토비 로젠노 소도 로젠노 소도 아트와지 바트 로젠노지 간사 라시메 바토비 로데니지 풍보 라시메 바 마토나 간사 다메 토비 세 풍보 라시메 바토바 제단제 냐나 조아 동보 케멜레 조아 오마 시바 샤오 소도 대바들로네니 지샤샤나 됐어.
Now, calm. If the same awareness that knows that person lacks intrinsic existence also knows the aggregates lacks intrinsic existence, then there's a fallacy. The true awareness that knows the two types of selflessness would be the same. However, since object and person are distinct, the awareness that knows that lack intrinsic existence are also the distinct. As in the case of the awareness that knows the impermanence of the pot and that of the pillar, if the awareness that knows that the person lacks intrinsic existence does not know the aggregates lack intrinsic existence, then how can Chandrakriti claim that one will know that the aggregates lack intrinsic existence? When one knows the selfness of a person, sorry, last 10 minutes break.
당가서 카투 데레 단지 되나 단지 강라 강사기 남에 또는 취재 남에 또 거래서는 타치 손으로 왔다 강사기 남에 또는 취재 남에 또 그거야나 강사기 남에 또 별로 대니기 취재 남에 또 그래베 강사 라심에 또 별로 대니기 풍부 라심에 또나 니 저여래서는 같이 일해 버릴게 돼서
So as we have read through this column, right? That it is others' position. We're actually arguing by saying that if you come to realization of selfness of a person, then you said you will also come to realization of selfness of phenomena, or the that which belongs to the self. In which case, it's that at the very mind or the very awareness that realizes selfness as a person can realize selfness as a phenomena. So this is the question that's asked by the other position.
네 좋아 동보 캐면은 좋아 니보 원은 시베세 좋아 동보 데레 간사를 취재 가서 간사를 하시면 또 별로 되니지 취재 다음에 또 말해 로 되니게 또 말해 얘나 취재 다음에 또나 간사게 다음에 또 그래서 로 취재 다음에도 간사 다음에 소 취다 간사 소소와 인바 나기 되니 또 별로 소소는 요래서 네 가와도 분반하기래서
So here now, if you look at the questions that have been asked by the other position, by saying that if the same awareness that knows the person lacks intrinsic existence also knows the aggregates lacks intrinsic existence, then there is a fallacy. The two awareness that knows the two types of selfnesses would be also the same. Then, however, since object and persons are distinct, the awareness that knows that they lack intrinsic existence are also the distinct. As in the case of the awareness that knows the impermanence of the pot and that of the pillar.
lo di jen la teme de pumbo ranjin me ba nge bi nge shin jen ni be na pumbo ranjin ji rondo bi rondo che ba ne ba yin no di sher kanza ranjin me ba to bi tse pumbo ranjin me ba to ba son so de yan be da pal ta le son do.
That's all. Now here, we're replying to their questions by saying that since we do not assert this, but I will answer your final questions. The awareness that knows the person lacks intrinsic existence does not think the aggregates do not intrinsically existence. However, without relying on anything else, that very awareness can induce a sudden knowledge that aggregates lack intrinsic existence, thereby eliminating reifying, so the reification of the intrinsic existence that has been superimposed upon the aggregates. Therefore, Chandrakirti says that when you know that the person like intrinsic existence, you also know that the aggregates like intrinsic existence. It's also Buddha Palita's commentary on the fundamental deities, or the Buddha Palita's Mula Madhyamaka Karika.
되게 개차 가르쳐 버렸는데 내가 저기로이나 간사 라시메 버도 뭐 카마 라이제 아니 풍부 라시메 버에선 또 말이에스 이나 간사 라시메 버도 별로이나 풍부 라시 짐바기 정도 때 라시지 쳐도 그래스 그래.
So now what one is replying with regard to the question that has been asked by the other position is now, although the awareness that knows the lack of intrinsic identity of intrinsic existence of the self, do not the very lack of the very awareness of knowing that lack of intrinsic existence of the self will not know the awareness of lack of intrinsic identity of intrinsic existence of the aggregates. What it does is now, it says it actually induces a sudden knowledge that aggregates like existence, thereby eliminating the reification of intrinsic existence of that has been superimposed upon the aggregates. So this is, in other words, those are it is not a one single cognitive event that knows the self of lack of intrinsic nature of self or the person. However, by knowing that, it doesn't require any other reasonings. By knowing the selflessness doesn't require to understand the aggregates, like intrinsic existence.
당가서 돈 버튼이 지는 소화되다. 배는 나도 생기지는 가서 넣고해도. 배는 나 생기 강사 탄이장도 여병아 강사 지르고 나의 세대 나의 풍부를 소버되는 거서나 아니 지라심에 버주번 또 비로 되니게 아니 전세 자체 장면 되와 아니 이제라 라심에 버는 라슈지 또 그래. 로코노 지니를 선나마 도와지.
So just think of ourselves now, without pointing elsewhere, but rather think of ourselves. We always have this way of thinking of self, right? It is because of having such thinking induces a way of thinking of that which belongs to the self, such as aggregates and so forth. So now, once you are able to negate such existence of the self, such self does not exist inherently, then the very knowledge that you have, the non-existence of the non-inherent existence of the self, will eliminate the inherent existence of the existence of that which belongs to the self.
딱 그거 착하고 있는 대여서 믿어버리다래지. 다 제샤와 강인바테 다게와 시샤나 나 대여 매대 대면은 말에 대인데오 인노 시샤와 제타 태번 저를 시에송바다 시바샤데 변나 마샤지 미시방 예바나 대로디 대 나와라 소바 매도냐데 민지장 대 나와라 소바 여번지 정도 죄니 바다라 다 de kona meba ngena de mila soba de kona yoban zimba doban ji sharo so wana
What the so-called self possesses is called that which belongs to the self. That self does not exist. If it does not exist, how can it be right to speak of what belongs to it? Right? Then it says, this is how you should understand it. For example, when reflecting, the son of the barren woman does not exist, that the very awareness does not think his ears and such do not exist. However, that awareness can eliminate any verifying thoughts that might imagine that its ears exist. Similarly, when you know that the self does not exist in reality, you stop any notion that its ears, that eyes and such exist in reality.
doban ji sheno wachi de ko de bodo tel me se de da ko me de chimno pe do apel de ko tu
No.
ena ta ga so ko da me ba ka de do re se bi ke se de wona ga ja da no ji de so ne yong re kon do tong zhe ji yo ro lo yin pa ren ti ke shi wo ra da na ga zhen de ko na ni ju be ren ba se de ke je.
So we are right now going to the stages of how one can enter into the philosophical view of emptiness. But we are not actually, right now, we're not on the identification of negations and how do we actually negate that, negate the object of negations.
Da yang de do ba de ko se be din ko ma wana che ran de rāndē kānsā tāyā tuandē bī ngō māwā nāngī jāng kānsā tuandē tāmbā chūpa mēndē bē tētā kē jāng mī lā sōpa rāngshī mē bā tōpa jōrō shē nā tētā mī tā nyōgō lā sōpa nā rāpa nā tētā kē tāyā tuandē bā rāngshī mē bā tōpa jōrō rāngshī mē bā tōpa jōrō tētā wō nyāng tō tētā wō nyāng tō tētā wō nyāng nā sā 대단 뇌바다 랑게 켈랑바다 게라 니콜라 소바 랑신 니콜라 소바 데메 드 메고반 조와다 게 메기레라 소바 요소 조바 양 진라 조지 진양 랑신 메반 데나 제바텐스 레 손도
So So objections. There are Buddhist essentialists who hold that the person exists as an imputation. They do not assert that the person exists ultimately. Therefore, even they would know that the eyes and such lack intrinsic existence. Reply: you're arguing that since they assert the gross objects such as eyes and seedling exist as implications, they would know that those objects lack intrinsic existence. If you accept that this is so, then you contradict your own assertion that this essentialists opponents of the true existence. If essentialists did know the absence of intrinsic existence, then it would not be necessary for a Madhyamaka to prove to them that seedling lacks true existence. Sorry. Further, the process of completing a virtuous or non-virtuous action is a continuum, and it essentially is accepted that a continuum lacks intrinsic existence. Then why would they challenge the Madhyamaka position that a continuum like a dream lacks true existence? Yet this is what he find in Haribhadra's little commentary on the ornament for the clear knowledge.
Pena Oma Tanjo Yolo Kansa Taya the Dona, Pumba Taya the Do Gore, Salazadi, and one around the name of Demba to Kelling to say, Minala Soba Ranjim about Togore, Karisana, and the Kansa Taya Dora, Cheki Kansa Taya Dona Pumba, and Taya Togore, Laos was. Inside any now the name of the Sigi, the Richana, not the name of the like Kenya and Gagudo city. But so Ripin got some return.
So it is
Go to demand.
in the date
Pena Ripin got so done the Penang Kansa Dietona, Pumba Diet, and the Gang catch the Shesaro.
thank you, Edith.
That day you're big in Dretch and any channel, and another name of the second Mila Soba Ranjim about Togore, Karichansana, and Kansa Diet do Chate, Cheki Kansa Dietona, Mila Soba Diet Togors, Lagodoa. They channel now they say it again.
No. That's it. So now here, the objection here is now, in other words, now just make it short. By you have, it says you have already. It's other person is objection by saying that you have accepted that once you are able to have a knowledge of the person exists as an imputation, then one will also able to exist, also able to understand that that which belongs to the self or the person exists as an imputation. So if this is the case, now the Buddhist essentialist, if the Buddhist essentialist accepts the person exists an imputation, and then that means that they also accept that which belongs to the self or the person is also exists as an imputation.
That is a little hit is Java, that you somebody. Young teacher, Terangani Terra, Juta Woma to say Tenta de Madame, any Mobotenji, any Chesenda Tabatenji, any Zeta Mobotenji, Tayata, and Tabatenji said, the Siki Quat, Malapata, the hit the Jatu.
How much is it? No,
Temagachi. Jabata Sele, Milo Dandawani, Miguel Jutan, Jimbala Soba, Mebe, Ni Malobi Nega now, Ni Lobi Nega Jando, Joa Mayena, she, Teda, Milo Dandai, Demit, Umabe, and Mawala, gave you 10 metal. Then, Mobama, Jean Luigi turned down the Kinzo the true Maju town, Umabi Luigi, Kinzo, the true Maju, the chief meeting bear, Teda, Kinzo, Duba, no, Umabe, Siena. Tenta to Juba down, Teta get turned out to Juba and Dubana, Umabetana, Kuzo to Juba, Joa, Gawachi, but then Sheba Shao, so the Zaya, Sheba Shao was a Tibati Yarojana. Sheba the minute, about the Russian, the Linsen do it. Linsen, no Russian, the dog, and Hajadi. They are the dog, Kansa Taya down, Robin, the Kansa Taya, Minjawa, Minjaya, Minjate, Robin, Dene, the dollar Kansa get dame to be Tawa Meba Shibi, Shete, Chuja Dame, Matona, Kansa get dame, Doba Ship, Matoba Shibi, Shoro, Dena, Pumbo Zed, Jutama, Zed, Jutama, Doji Pad, Kansa Zed, and Zimbabwe, Robin, De Sheba. 대다게 간사 된 담보메바 또바 미노 소도 어디바다 렌세치.
So this both objection and the reply that we find over here is a little bit complicated, because that talks about the assertions of the lower schools of the Buddhist philosophical tenets. And so they do accept, ultimate existence, ultimate phenomena. However, the way that they accept the ultimate phenomena is completely different from the ultimate phenomena that is accepted by the Madhyamaka Prasangika. And in other words, the way they accept the ultimate phenomena are something that is functional and it's impermanent, and also they are substantially existence. So therefore, if we have not gone through those, lower class of the lower schools of the Buddhist thoughts, then it makes it a little bit complicated for us here. Now, continue reading through the text where it says, High Bother's little commentary on the ornament for the clear knowledge. Abhisamaya Amkara Vivarti with this. They essentially say to the Madhyamaka, if all phenomena are like dreams, then the 10 known virtues, giving and so forth, would not exist. Hence, even when you are not asleep, it would be as though you were. Therefore, there is a huge disparity between the essentialist system and the Madhyamaka system with respect to whether things exist either ultimately or conventionally. What they consider conventional existence amount to the ultimate existence from a Madhyamaka's perspective, and what they consider ultimate existence exists only conventionally according to Madhyamaka. There's nothing contradictory about it, hence you need to draw distinctions. Furthermore, although the imputed existence person of this Buddhist essentialist and the imputedly existence person of the Madhyamaka Master Chandrakirti are similar in name, but their meanings are not same. For Chandrakirti maintains that Buddhist essentialists do not have the view, which is the knowledge of the selfness of the person. This is because he asserts that if you have not known the selfness of the object, then you have not known the selfness of the person. Therefore, Chandrakirti assert that they will continue to apprehend the person as substantially existence as long as they do not give up the tenet that aggregates are substantially existent. Hence, essentialists do not know that the person does not ultimately exist. So then there's when the Buddhists, the Madhyamakas asserts all things and events, such as self and phenomena, are like a dream or the illusion like. So then they raise the question by saying the Buddhist essentialists would say to the Madhyamakas by asking the questions, if all phenomena are like a dream, then the 10 non-virtues, giving and so forth, would not exist. Hence, even when you are not asleep, it would be as though we are. You were.
아니 오마이티 뭐마모도서게 덴바투바 켈링 워케디 덴바투바 켈링이 지라 최타지 지만나 밀라나게리 라소나 밀란세데니 쿠디네 거스마도 니마세벨 밀라요 마로와 저러게 니마쿠나야 니쿠비네거데 지바레사나 아니 오마발레 치고 거왈로와데 아니 파 오마베 까바다 되메바 차로 그래서 텐데디 텐데지 타지 리히자 사데스 다니바달라이니 맞어
So here now, whenever we find in the text by saying Buddhist essentialist, the essentialist here refers to the Buddhist plus who holds the view of asserting or accepting all the functional things that exist ultimately, the ultimate existence of the functional things. The lower three philosophical tenets, asserts that all functional things exist ultimately. However, in the Madhyamaka, both Madhyamaka Prasangika and Madhyamaka Svadantika rejects the ultimate existence of functional things. Almost from Bodhigi than the So, three lower schools of thoughts. When they talk about the conventional phenomena are merely, their understanding of conventional phenomena are limited upon only functional things, the functional phenomena. However, Madhyamaka Prasangikas and Madhyamaka Svadantikas, when they talk about the conventional phenomena, everything, things and events, all phenomena across the board in the entire spectrum of phenomena exist conventionally, not ultimately. So there's a big gap between the conventional existence and ultimate existence and the imputed existence among the philosophical tenets. Particularly, that's a completely different way of asserting this conventional phenomena between the Madhyamaka school of thoughts and the Buddhist essentialist. So here now, according to the Madhyamaka, where it says, once you have accepted the aggregate's ultimately existence, and there's no way that one can have an understanding of aggregates that is which is aggregate that is devoid of intrinsic existence or inherent existence, because once you have strongly you're asserting on the aggregates being ultimate in existence, which is accepted by the Buddhist essentialist. the Konanila.
The Conalan Jubilee passing it, Tanjing Sogi, Toma Tade Jubuteni, any the Conani Tobiche, any Kadekadichen, Toma, any Dente Negre, say Jero, T. Getchedo.
So this is what is the stages of the stages of entering oneself into the ultimate nature of reality. So what is meant by stages of the ultimate entering into the ultimate stages of the entering into the reality is because there's a stages. First one must have a strong wish to attain liberations. So having this strong motivations of attain liberations, then by what means that one's aspiration be fulfilled? When we come to such questions, then entering into the reality is a sole method of entering oneself into the reality.
Now go on the Segi Yang, Ninjuki Samba, Hanan Ninjuki Samba Rajil Machikona, and G. Tomani La Qua, the Tomani Togo so the Terra. Combo Shindu Nobotas, Tanda Corundi, June Rashi, and Jubichen, Chenri Chun Sugilana, range you see the song in Dicala, and the Tanda Terra Jerim.
So here, the way we enter into the reality to achieve liberations must follow the proper sequence or the proper channels. In other words, by practicing and cultivating renunciations, and then and the stages of the path that requires for one to become to enter into the reality. Sorry, but then it says some very sharp faculties for someone who is so intelligent, it does not require those stages. Without having introduced renunciations, without having practicing renunciation, may come to an understanding or the realization of reality.
Yang tao tena besi ki rimpi ki kese shirina kwa sha tena shena oma ki tenri chara tena yungi ki kese shena yang ji jota oma ki ni deni josi ki rimpa tena paa jine yone yang oma raji ban oma taji ya yungsi ki rimpa tena shena ni jota tayi chara ki rimpa tena josi tena pe tenpo shui chagoro be.
But then also there's another way of entering into the reality. So enter into the reality or the philosophical viewpoint of emptiness by going through the proper studies of the lower Buddhist philosophical tenets, the lower Buddhist philosophical tenets such as Swatantika, Vairashika, and Chitamatra, and Madhyamaka Swatantika, and then leads to the Madhyamaka Prasankika, will really become a firm, this will enable one to, it will provide you a firm understanding of what is meant by the reality, what is meant by emptiness.
Deshe mata le dunghe lani dame sonse de mata ba yinbi jinsi dunghe wa yinbi jinsi ki dame yi tenri ki lo yi rinpi chene tenri chara yi tona teje chane jahe jana ani ta oma tanja lo yi sha sanche ti sengi dala ani tumba ni segari sengi chile sona ta te ngone yi ngubi nensi ki cheba chashi chawan do no terawa.
This is the proper way of going through the studies of understanding emptiness. First, by engaging in the practice of contemplation on impermanence, how things really exist, and how things actually go through this, change or the transient nature, the momentary nature understanding the momentary nature of things, and this can be this will becoming a basis for one's understanding of selflessness. Then once you have able to understand the selflessness, will lead oneself to the understanding of the certainties of this dependent originations. Once you have the firm understanding on this impermanent nature, selflessness, and the subtleties of dependent originations in accordance with the different philosophical tenets, then when it comes to the explanation of things exist imputedly, will make good sense. So, we don't have to follow any tenets. Just think about ourselves and think and analyze ourselves, how things really exist. What kind of view that is correct for us? What makes sense for us? Something that really corresponds to reality. This is, how we should learn ourselves, go through the stages of analysis.
Sheba dela tene tawajila jibi tsulo tombola song gaja leba ngonzingo bi jensen gaja ngon manzi bongo bi shenlu gaba tang rangi luji gaja ngonzingo bi tsulo tombo ne pena song tan nyanga tere ti jengi.
Now the actual determination of reality here was misidentifying the object to be negated on the chapter 10, which says the actual determination of reality. The section on actual determination of view of reality has 3 parts: identifying the object to be negated by reason, which we'll explain in chapter 10 and to 17, and then also next it says whether to carry out the refutation with the Sabadantika producer, or with the Prasangika procedure. Sorry, Sabadantika procedure, or with the Prasangika's procedure, chapter 18 and 21. Then third, it says how to use the procedure to generate the right philosophical views within your minds, within one mind stream, chapter 22 and 24. And identifying the object of negation negated by reasoning. This has 3 parts. Why the object of negation must be carefully identified. Second, refuting other system that refute without identifying the object to be negated, chapter 10 and 16, 10 to 16. And third, how our system identified the object of negation, chapter 17. So the object of negation must be negated, something that should be gotten rid of. That is what is meant by object of negation. And object on the basis of negating such object, and then one should have a certain establishment by negating that object of negations, and one should establish a firm understanding of the reality. The firm understanding of reality will take place by refuting what is to be refuted.
repeat gaja the car go repeat gaja the country second loss. Jeda in repeat gaja the Yemeni chayas and the Pena Dembatuba saying the maybe chat any Demba Zimbate, Zimbilote, New Yubi Chajana.
So now, when we talk about identifying the object of negation, object to be negated by reason, in other words, that one should first identify the two kinds of object that is to be negated. That is to be negated. The two objects, one object that is exist, one object that does not exist. It is non-existence. But non-existence object of negation is a intrinsic nature of self, or the inherent self, existence of inherent self. That is non-existence object of negations. And there is another object of negation that is existed, which is within us, which is grasping at self, grasping at inherent self, or grasping at inherent phenomena. There is this one is the subjective that need to be negated. One is objective that needs to be negated. So long as that you have a right awareness or right set of mind with regard to one particular object, then you have certain refutation with regard to that object already. So now when we talk about the selflessness, we're talking about, first, we are identifying and hold on to the object of negation.
meji kansa de shego bata da me bata ranji me ba shebi den nge bala meji da da ranji leba ngun zeng go gote gaja re gaba shai chir leba shana ka ba shiji malo ba maga ba imra mange bi shede shwenju le ta bi ngola ma de ba de ngwe min zema yi she song bi shero so de.
So now here it says why the object of negation must be carefully identified. It's explained now. In order to be sure that a certain person is not present, you must know the absence person. Likewise, in order to be certain of the meaning of selflessness or the lack of intrinsic existence, you must carefully understand the self or intrinsic nature that does not exist. For if you do not have a clear concept of object to be negated, you will also not have an accurate knowledge of its negation. For Shantidevas engaging in the Bodhisattva's deed says, without contacting the entity that is impeded, you will not apprehend the essence of that reality. Entity, sorry. No. So now here it talks about, the two different ways of importance of understanding, importance of identifying the negation, object of negation, right?
gaja tangche keban jo ro deyang gaji ne tatu bi chawane re chawane ma keba lama malin lama lu na yebi ta tongxin ngoba shenba jeba siba le zhuwa mini so hajang te dana gaja re gaba shayi tsu ma zinbe ka na ne junje ten reji riba su shungba chibi tanhongshi tawa deni ngero chiba shedo deyi shere gaja leba ngonzinga ba geche de de ngo mazin na yang mare ngo mazin na yang na re ta yang na cheta de meza wa chibi shoro so.
So there is limitless diversity among the object of negations. but they come together at the root. When you refute this, you refute all object of negations. Moreover, if you have some reminder, then failing to refute the deepest and the most subtle core of the object of negation, then you will fail to an extreme of true existence. You will cling to the idea of real things, whereby you will not be able to escape cyclic existence. If you fail to limit the object of negation and overextended your refutation, then you will lose confidence in the causal progressions of the dependent arising, thereby falling to nihilistic extremes. This nihilistic view will lead you to rebirth in the miserable realms. Therefore, it is crucial to identify the object of negation carefully, for if it is not identified, you will suddenly develop either a nihilistic view or an eternalistic view.
노디에 참석해도 해지도 근데 지가 그래 마도 아니 가셔도 뭐 야부 만세만 가서나 변나 당치 여 말에 나서나 년del로서 겨도 그래 매바 당치 여에서 나서나 아니 다탈 성도 그래 다시 이제 타니를 뭐야기 게 쪼데 가장군만 지 줘래서 저 통이 줘래 다 간지.
So now here it says once you are negating one should negate the object of negation by carefully identifying the object of negation. What is to be negated must be carefully identified. For instance, if one is able to identify the inherent self, one is able to identify that inherent self as the object of negation, and negating that object, one is able to negate all the object of negations. You don't have to go through one by one object of negations in order to eliminate that. So therefore here now, by doing that, again, one must have a very good understanding, a firm understanding of object of negation. What is to be negated is very, very important, because when we think about negating all things, existence of all things and event, we may negate existence of all things and event, which then one falls into the nihilistic view, right? The view of nihilism. And then if you say that everything is exist, there is existence, then you might accept everything is exist inherently. This will then lead oneself to fall. This will take oneself to the view of eternalism. So we have to be very careful about identifying the negation, object of negation. Sorry.
근데 당한서 인제스 되서도 있어. 당한서 조전이 일을 사대 교화다. 뒤손도 사대 교화는 쇼지던도 털라되네. 아니 가장 문제 비전은 내가 아니 도만이 또 비힐라송데 nen조랑 질레잖아. 아니 타바다 던지잖아. 고번 영원도 신 타바. 니는 주변만은 신절로도서 네 장신世界 타지 이지라. 아니 저와 니와니도 저와 신절로도서잖아. 와다 방안이가 쳤다.
So now let's do our dedications by means of spending a couple of hours in discussions on the emptiness and talking about the identification object of negations. So by means of such merits, may I be able to have a proper understanding of ultimate nature of reality by reifying or by eliminating or by refuting all those object of negations, and may I be able to gain the state of complete enlightenment and liberation and enlightenment, and may I lead all other sentient beings to the state of enlightenment. But may all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas bless me to be able to do this.
Kado yamba gashi sabo de lomi mori kedon jowa nangre jaye ombo da juje tema sube sero kendo jambe yangje sebe jesone tembe rimba kensa nanje yene jube jena nishi jo range jije tobe lanje Shura Tseve Changye Dage Jen Zhoye Ye Je Mianpa Se Shen Jaye Tenpa Yuren Zinju Je Tenpa Ren Jen Choge Ma Chang Cha Nyampa Jube Shode Ne Nye Je Chenpe Yero Jeba Pede Dede Sewa Sheba Sho Se Jen Jaye Mi Jung Chen De Le zhu shang zhu lang jue rin be jiang tang de nang jie yin la be ne jia yin zi ba rin du zhong ju ji lang zang zhu be ten jian zhu xie ge jin si jie me dang mi mi gun ce rao gun de jia ye hong ba Lang dang zhe wan ma ju ji gang ce du ban shu lan qu shi 世间诸乐自莫地云，土地能知道度诸心，这是将子修根超究其，就是那面苦菜老的，能够成的修治结果，老上点别正面扫松，如也明显大度念究其，帮助人过于行啊。 偏当的我莫的永远，现在人我点子张所，小别心田不多点就结，江边把位接大前方，更多让步点用点线的，得到跟着就是到了。 给我得到堂前劳动，我的送西边叫我当街。我刚了秋冬我把的大钱给别找我对给，从不谢谢劳动我的。哎呀，吐气，天就。